Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got James Alderman on, and he's the co-founder of Kinetics. Hi, James.
Hi, Daniel. Good to speak to you.
Pleasure. James, let's jump straight in then. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Absolutely, yeah. So as the co-founder of Kinetics, we basically try and empower and help graduates, specifically marketing graduates, to find work within this amazing industry of ours. And we set this business up, Matt and I, who's the other co-founder, because of the challenges that we saw graduates face during the pandemic. And really, it's been a learning journey for us as well. And it's been a great journey for the graduates that we've had on board, because we've managed to place graduates into positions and opportunities that otherwise may not have existed with COVID due to our different sort of offerings that we give businesses. So it's been a roller coaster couple of years. But we predominantly we champion graduates. We really do think that they have a lot to offer, and they have a lot of value. And we really need to educate employers as well, and we need to educate business owners into understanding that graduates are not just a risk; they really are a great investment and asset for the future.
Okay, interesting. So Kinetics, a bit of a mix between sort of is it a kind of recruitment kind of business, a bit of a in marketing, or what is it specifically?
Yeah, so that's another great quote. We get asked that quite a lot. We started off originally as a digital marketing agency, and because of COVID, we had to change our model quickly, because what we found was that businesses obviously weren't willing to make that investment at that time. But we had a really interesting and large, diverse pool of graduate talent, and that was built up with our connections on LinkedIn and other jobs previously that Matt and I have worked on together. So we had this really engaged network that had a lot of value. So we decided to sort of move into the recruitment realm to be able to facilitate those opportunities for graduates.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk a bit about your career then, James. Where did this all come about? How did you get into marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, how did I get into marketing? It's a great question, because I sort of fell into it, really. When I left school, I joined the army, the British Army, and I did 6-7 years in the army, and I left at 25. Now, I didn't really have too much in the way of, say, any formal qualifications at that point, and civilians weren't too interested in hiring someone that could, use a radio and maybe fire a rifle. But one thing I did have, which was a sort of a godsend, was at the time was a HGV license and obviously a car license. Mm-hmm. So I trained to become a driving instructor, which was the only thing I could do, or I could find doing. So I did. I became a driving instructor, and when I was a driving instructor at the age of 25, 26, this is way back when, I needed to market. I had to learn very quickly how to market myself. And I sort of started to learn about marketing and all the other bits and pieces of it. A lot of it was offline. A lot of it was leaflets, that sort of stuff, more traditional sort of channels of marketing. And whilst I was doing that, because in my army years, I thought I'd missed out on quite a lot of, stuff that young people do in their 20s. I also had a part-time job at a bar, and at a hotel, and I was doing some work in the evenings there as well. And one thing led to another, and I started doing some marketing for them as well. And then I sort of merged the two jobs. I did driving instruction during the day, and I did a little bit of marketing for the hotel in the evenings. And I really fell in love with the idea of marketing and started learning from that point. And another ambition I had that I wanted to do was I wanted to go to university. Now, this was strategic. I wanted to go to university because at that point, Daniel, I knew that I was at a slight disadvantage, or I felt I was at a disadvantage at that time in my life. Now, looking back, I think there's arguments to say that maybe it was the wrong decision in many ways. But when I went to university, it was basically for me to be able to skill up, to learn different things, grow as a person. And during my time there, I did a lot of extracurricular sort of work and activities. So I learned how to code with HTML and CSS. I got a couple of jobs with some agencies in Leeds when I was at uni. And when I finished my dissertation, I went straight to Berlin. I packed a bag. Wow. Took my girlfriend, who's now wife, and we went straight to Berlin with the sole idea of working at a startup, because I knew
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, as I've listened to other podcast episodes that you've done with various individuals, working in startups, I knew would be the place where I would grow as a marketer and really learn about the business function and people.
Yeah.
So then, yes, of course, that happened. We then moved back to the UK because my wife was pursuing a PhD, but I got a job in-house in an SEO role in Leeds. And I learned even more. And again, in-house roles are brilliant, as other people have said to you before, because you're exposed to so many different marketing functions. You 1 minute you're writing copy, the next minute you're sort of like looking at website layouts, you're giving your opinion on those. The next minute you're sort of working with graphics or analytics, and you really get a feel for the whole marketing mix and how that all fits together. So that was a very, very exciting sort of period in my marketing journey. And then to get to where I am today, whilst I was working in-house and working with a couple of agencies as well, I had the privilege of being able to look after some marketing apprentices, and I was mentoring some marketing apprentices, but I wasn't very happy with the level of tuition and the quality of tuition given by the apprentice trainers. Mm-hmm. So I don't like saying this, but I kind of took it upon myself. I thought, this can't be the case. So I decided to go into training apprentices. So I switched sort of roles slightly and worked for a couple of apprentice training companies that would train apprentices up in digital marketing, because I felt that they were missing certain aspects of the course. There was lots of areas missing within this course that a marketer should really have. And I sort of fell into that training aspect of marketing. And then here I am today with Matt, 2.5 years in with sort of Lead Kinetics, helping graduates still, try and find the positions and jobs that they want.
Wow, what a cool sort of journey to get to where you are. A lot of variety and some different things in there, like the army. What made you, out of interest, choose the army?
I was bored. Yes, honestly, I really, I went to college. I was doing a graphic design college. I think it was HND at the time. And I remember looking out the window thinking, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And I don't know why, but I decided to join the army, and I stayed just over 6 years there. And I can't put my finger on it, Daniel, but it was a good experience. But when I left, I did feel that I was at a very big disadvantage at 25, coming out of being wrapped in cotton wool for 6 odd years, and then being exposed to the brutal world of the brutal corporate world. Yeah.
Yes, the corporate world is brutal. Absolutely. So you've probably heard me talk about this a lot, and my opinion on university is slightly different, I guess, maybe to your opinion on university. So I'm of the belief of you can teach yourself a lot of skills now online. You can get a lot of knowledge online. But I did like, what you talked about with the apprentices. And I think you're right. I think training of apprentices still to this day is very poor. There's not enough investment in them. But for marketing, obviously you can go and do degrees at university. Why do you believe that that's maybe the best route into marketing?
Well, you see, here's the thing. Do I believe it's the best route into marketing? I think it's one of the many routes into marketing. I used to work in apprenticeships, and I firsthand, like yourself, will be able to say that apprenticeships are probably the best route into marketing at the moment, because you get that, you get that experience that you don't get as a graduate, and you are exposed to so many different elements of the marketing function, business, personalities, office politics, you name it. There's a lot of things that you are in a sort of at the coalface with as an apprentice. Now, with a graduate, you have different abilities. You can obviously, construct things in a very formulaic way. You have patience, time. You've done 3 years of a degree, and you get a lot of theory behind it. But one of the reasons why Lead Kinetics exists, because we know that marketing graduates are at a slight disadvantage. Let's not dress this up in any other way. They are at a slight disadvantage from apprentices or people that have gone in from school, because they lack that experience, Daniel. It's as simple as that. So we had to generate and come up with ideas to be able to have these graduates create experiences, either for themselves or find voluntary experiences that they could then catch up with these other people and have an opportunity, a fighting chance in the marketplace, in the workplace.
Okay, I love that. I think that's a great idea because, like you say, the people we've talked to, marketing startups or agency owners, they would like somebody to leave school, come and learn the trade for a couple of years, or get an apprenticeship and learn the trade. So you're right. Leaving university without any experience, you kind of hit that barrier all the time.
Yes.
Applying for a job, an entry job. Oh, we need 1 to 2 years experience. Well, how is that possible for somebody that's been to university?
Well, if I can just add, whilst we were teaching apprentices in Manchester and down in the Midlands, about 70% of our apprentice cohorts were graduates. And that tells you everything you need to know, which is shocking. And the reason is because, and I would ask them, whilst we were doing our meetups, why did you go to university? What was the motivation, and why are you doing an apprenticeship? And the answer was always the same, because schools and society have this narrative that universities are the way forward. We know there's reasons behind that: funding, money, economics, etc. But the reality is that they didn't have the experience. They were applying for 40, 50 jobs and getting nothing back. They took an apprenticeship, they got that experience, and they got the job. And a lot of them had the issue of where they said, well, actually, I really need to go to university for that?
I think you'll agree with me. I'm a bit of a marketing geek in my own time. I'm not a practitioner, but I find it fascinating. How we convince people to buy things or get involved in things. But it's so interesting that I think it's interesting we teach marketing at university, because the people we've had on, especially now with the age of social media and digital marketing and content first, it evolves within sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. It's just constantly evolving. Strategies that worked 3 months ago don't work now. So we're teaching these kids at university, old-fashioned marketing, if you like.
You're absolutely right. I think a lot of them, including some apprenticeship courses as well, Daniel, a lot of them aren't fit for purpose. I really believe that. I've seen a lot of modules. I've seen a lot of course materials within university sort of marketing courses and apprenticeship courses, and a lot of them are very old-fashioned. A lot of them, a lot of the theory doesn't sort of change, of course, but as you said, the nuances of technologies, of different approaches, is rapidly changing. And actually, marketing should really, the focus should be more on maybe the psychological and maybe more of the customer and consumer behavior aspects of it. They're sort of where areas that you could potentially study. But the actual practicing and the theory changes very frequently. And yes, as soon as you graduate with a marketing degree or MSc, potentially you're out of date.
It's such a good point. But what you're doing, and this is part of the reason that we got you on today, because I saw your LinkedIn profile and you talk about the importance of portfolios. And as I said to you before this, I've banged on about this for 150 whatever episodes we've done now. And not just in marketing, it's important to showcase and build a network on social media and LinkedIn and wherever you want to, for whatever you want to go into. But have you got some great little nuggets of help for people in marketing of how they can build those portfolios?
Yes, I have. And Daniel, you are a rare breed, because there aren't enough people that sort of bang on about portfolios. And graduates, I don't want to give the message that, they've wasted their time. Absolutely not. Some of the qualities and things that they have and they can gain from their university degree is obviously, there to be seen. But with portfolios, I think, yes, the most important thing with a portfolio for me is, it doesn't matter if you have one project. You could have 5 projects or just one. The most important thing with a portfolio from a marketing point of view is that you must be able to demonstrate and show your methodology of working. That's what employers want. Employers want to obviously see what you can do, which a CV can't do. A CV gives you a sort of a document of what you've done in the past. But with a portfolio, you can actually see what this individual's done. But within that portfolio, you've got to be able to list your methodology. So in other words, what was the brief of the project? So who gave you the project, and what was the brief? What was the timeline? What were the deliverables? The next thing is that you must know is, how did you approach this? Even show some of your concept designs, sketches, ideas, whatever. But then the meat of the project is how you approached it. So how did you do it? What tools did you use? How long did it take you? Because what you're then doing is you're giving the employer a really deep insight into the way that you work and think, and they can start thinking about the way that you could potentially work within their workforce. And also, if you can, which isn't always the case, give results, give some indication about what it is that you achieved at the end of that project.
Yeah, it's so key. And, CVs for me, in my opinion, I just don't think they're actually going to get you a job these days, unless you've got the best CV that happens to fit the job perfectly. Even corporate jobs, some big banks in the city, even if you've got the greatest CV, because they get so many applications, they just cut the pile in half and put half in the bin.
They do.
It's how do you get your name in there and convey your personality in the right way with one page of A4? You can't. If you've got a portfolio, you've got so much more character behind it, and like you say, you can really explain how you did things and why you did things.
Yes. And I think as well with marketing, and it may be, what I'm about to say might be transferable to other disciplines, verticals and industries, but the thing is with marketing, if someone comes to me, if a graduate comes to me and says, James, I have a portfolio, I get a little bit like you, a bit geeky, I get a bit excited. And now already I'm thinking, this person loves marketing. This person is really keen on marketing, because it tells me that they've invested in a portfolio, digital portfolio. They've invested their time building it, and they've got projects, and they're really, really keen on this. And I think that is a differentiator, and it really works for me. And employers love it. And it's incredible, Daniel, how many employers don't really know about the existence of portfolios. They don't really think about the portfolios.
Yeah. And that's an edge, isn't it? That's an edge when you're applying. Not many people are doing this.
Absolutely not. No, definitely not. I put a poll out on LinkedIn not too long ago, and I think we had a couple of hundred people reply, and 74% of the people that replied, of graduates, of young marketers, didn't know anything about portfolios or didn't have one. So it's quite a big number.
It's massive. So, building portfolio is one thing, but what can people actually do? Because are they going to have to go and work for free at a marketing agency? Are they going to go and have to offer their services to a small business? How can you actually start to build a portfolio if you've got no experience and you just can't get your foot through a door somewhere?
Yeah, that is the number one question that I'm asked. And there's really sort of two answers. The first one that I come back with is create your own experience. At the end of the day, you don't necessarily have to work for a company in order to be able to showcase your skills and abilities. You can create your own experience. If you drop ship something, then you can create an Instagram account with something and build a community around that. You can go away and become a creator, create content, show your versatility on the different platforms. And I think that's very important. Show that you've grown an audience. Daniel, I speak to graduates that have done this and created businesses out of nothing, social media businesses, Instagram businesses, from basically doing this over a couple of years during the pandemic. And, they make an income now from it. And that's their portfolio. That's their sort of USP. And it's fantastic. The other thing as well you could do is, yes, you could volunteer. But I would think that, there are issues with volunteering, of course, and we could go into those deeply, but a lot of companies are sort of not sure about that, don't know how to deal with voluntary workers.
Yeah.
And also there's the issue of graduates, not wanting to maybe be exploited or that sort of stuff. So there are a couple of barriers with the voluntary situation. It is viable, but you got to do some homework on it, but certainly create your own experiences if you don't have them.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. Brilliant tip there, because if you're a business owner, and somebody comes to you and says, look, I've started this small business. I'm actually, making a profit. I'm not making huge amounts of money, but I've made this, this money online. It's almost a proof of concept of what you're doing as well, because there's so many businesses that still don't have a digital marketing team or are aware of this kind of, especially in the e-com world. People are just making Instagram accounts and selling products and making a very good income. So you can even show your business development skills. It's not just your marketing skills by doing that, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, it shows a sort of a good sort of landscape of all the different sort of skills and attributes that you can bring to a business. And what you've just said before is absolutely right. You know, the thing is, we work in marketing, or we work around the marketing in its periphery. There are a lot of businesses out there, as you said, some big established ones that have marketing teams smaller than 5 people. There are some companies out there that really still don't get it. There's so much opportunity. We are still in the infancy of digital. It took the automobile trade, you know, almost 100 years to get where it is now. We're not even a quarter of the way through from a digital point of view. So there's so much opportunity out there. And as you rightly said, you can demonstrate other qualities such as business acumen. If you're decent with numbers, forecasting, data analytics, there's so much to showcase.
I mean, I love talking to people like you and the other sort of co-founders we've had on here, because it all kind of connects for me. So, you know, what you're mentioning about so much opportunity, weirdly, bear with me here. We had an agri-tech firm on the podcast, and he was talking about how, you know, the development of new tools and new drones is going to mean farming is going to become less commoditized. So you'll be able to have a small farm. You won't have to worry about labor. But what that does mean, and what you need to focus on, is your marketing, because that's your differentiator. And this is going to happen to a huge amount of industries over the next few years. So all that means is marketing's become more and more important. There's going to be more and more jobs within marketing, and more specialization for digital marketers, social media people, content creators. So it's a really exciting time to get into marketing.
It is. It's a very exciting time. And, you know, we're seeing apps like TikTok and Instagram sort of challenging it with different functionalities. You know, in the next couple of years, that I'm sure another social media app will emerge. You know, all these social media platforms and other CMS type platforms are vying for space and eyeballs on their products. And yeah, they generate more interest, more opportunity, and more opportunity for business. And in turn, businesses then get excited and want to jump on the latest trend. And young people, graduates, they're on it already. They're using it, and they have a head start. And ultimately, they are your audience. You know, these graduates are your audience. They might not be your audience today, but they're definitely your audience in a few years. So catch them now and become useful to them as a business on these platforms.
Certainly. And you know, where can people find you, or reach out if somebody's listening to this, they're a marketing grad or want to get into it? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
I would say the best way is LinkedIn. Really, you can find me on LinkedIn, James Alderman, I'm there. I've got a blue background. You'll spot me.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, James. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you, and I think what you're doing is brilliant.
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you the best luck with the rest of the podcast.
Cheers, James.
Thanks, Daniel. Cheers.